I'm 70, and here are 9 reasons I avoid people now. Hello, everyone. It's so great to be talking with you today. Now, before you start thinking, well, that's nice, but what does that have to do with me? Today, I want to share something very personal, something that's been on my mind for a while now. I'm going to tell you why. At 70, I've started avoiding people in certain situations. And no, it's not because I've become bitter or cynical. Actually, quite the opposite. It's because I've learned a lot over the years. And one of the most important things I've learned is that not all people deserve your time. Not all relationships, no matter how long you've known someone or how much you've invested in them, are worth holding on to. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I'm an introvert or that I've given up on human connection. I still love my family. I still have friends I cherish deeply. But the older I get, the more I realize how precious time truly is. Time with the right people, time in the right situations, and time that brings joy instead of draining your energy. There's something liberating about realizing that at my age, I don't need to surround myself with anyone just for the sake of socializing or because that's what you're supposed to do. I've learned that peace of mind, emotional balance, and personal well-being should always come first. I've come to understand that some relationships, some social interactions, and some people in my life simply don't add value anymore. In fact, they can even take away from the happiness I've worked so hard to build. I know that may sound harsh to some of you, but let me assure you, this isn't about shutting myself off from the world. It's about choosing who I let into my world. It's about recognizing that as you get older, your time, your energy, and your emotional bandwidth become more precious. And I'm sure some of you can relate. Have you ever found yourself spending time with people who just drain you? People who talk endlessly about things that don't matter, who constantly bring negativity into your life, or who only reach out when they need something. People who don't really listen, who don't really care. And after those interactions, you feel mentally and emotionally exhausted, questioning if it was all worth it. Well, I've been there. And at 70, I've learned that avoiding people or certain kinds of people isn't a sign of weakness or isolation. It's a sign of wisdom. It's a way of protecting my peace, of preserving the energy I have left for things that matter more. So today, I'm going to share with you 9 reasons why, at this stage of my life, I've come to avoid certain people, and why, maybe, you should too. These reasons aren't just about personal preference. They come from years of experience, of trial and error, of learning what really adds value to my life. There are things I wish I had known earlier, things I hope will help you avoid making the same mistakes. And let's be real, avoiding people is not something that happens overnight. It's a gradual process. It's about learning what's important, what drains you, and what brings you peace. But once you start embracing it, once you begin prioritizing your happiness and well-being, you'll understand why it's such an essential part of life. So, stick with me through this video, and let's dive into these 9 reasons why I've learned to say no to certain people at 70. Trust me, this isn't about becoming a recluse. It's about embracing freedom, protecting your peace, and living your best life, surrounded by the people who truly matter. Reason 1, time is limited. Why waste it? When you're young, you don't think too much about time. There's always more of it. You make plans for the weekend, next month, even years down the line. Time seems endless, and you find yourself doing things out of habit, obligation, or because it's what everyone else is doing. You go to parties you don't enjoy, attend events you'd rather skip, and talk to people just because you feel like you should. But when you get older, time takes on a whole different meaning. You realize that you don't have the luxury of endless days ahead of you. In fact, every day becomes more precious. Every moment feels like it matters a little more, and you start thinking about how you want to spend it. So, one of the biggest reasons I've started avoiding people is because time is limited, and I refuse to waste it on things that don't matter. When you're younger, it's easy to feel obligated to meet up with people just because it's the thing to do. You don't want to miss out. You don't want to seem rude or antisocial. But as I've gotten older, I've come to realize that life is too short for all of that. There's no point in spending time with people who don't make you feel good, who don't add anything meaningful to your life. At 70, I've learned that quality over quantity is key. I'd much rather spend my time on activities that nourish me, whether that's reading, reflecting, walking in nature, or simply sitting in silence. And when it comes to socializing, I want to be with people who share my values, who bring joy, who understand me, and who leave me feeling uplifted, not drained. You see, the older we get, the more we understand the true cost of our time. We begin to realize that we can't afford to just fill up our schedules for the sake of it. Every hour, every minute is an opportunity to do something meaningful. Why would I waste that time with someone who only brings negativity, small talk, or drama into my life? Why spend time with people who won't even appreciate your presence when you could be doing something that truly enriches you? I've also realized that not all invitations are worth accepting. When I was younger, I said yes to everything. There was this unwritten rule that you should always make time for people. But now, I've learned that saying no can be a form of self-respect. I don't feel guilty anymore for declining an invitation, especially when it's for something that doesn't add any real value to my life. I've become much more selective with my time. After all, once a moment is gone, you can never get it back. So why waste it on people or activities that don't matter? And you know what? It's not just about saying no to people. It's also about saying no to situations that don't align with your happiness. If I know that a certain environment or social gathering is going to make me feel uncomfortable, stressed, or just plain bored, I don't hesitate to stay home. And let me tell you, there's something incredibly liberating about making the choice to protect your time and your peace. In the end, it's all about prioritizing your life, your happiness, and your well-being. Time is precious, so I choose to spend it on people, activities, and moments that truly matter. If someone or something doesn't align with that, I've learned to step back, and it feels like a weight has been lifted. Reason 2, emotional drain is too much to handle. Another reason I've started avoiding certain people is because of emotional drain. When you're younger, you may feel like you have the energy to handle everyone's problems, to listen to every complaint, and to offer advice to anyone who asks. You have that natural drive to be there for others, to support your friends, family, and colleagues, no matter how much it costs you emotionally. But here's the thing, as you get older, you don't have that same emotional bandwidth. You realize that being constantly surrounded by emotional chaos or negativity is exhausting. At some point, you have to acknowledge that you can't carry everyone's burdens. You've got your own life to live, your own challenges to face, and that's okay. It doesn't make you selfish, it makes you wise. I've come to understand that some people are like emotional vampires. They're constantly in crisis, always going through drama, or always needing reassurance. They never seem to be happy, no matter how much you listen to them, how much you help. They're always pulling on your energy, and after spending time with them, you feel emotionally drained, like there's nothing left for yourself. And you know what? At 70, I just can't afford to let that happen anymore. When you're younger, you feel like it's your job to fix everyone, to help everyone, to make everything okay for those around you. But as I've gotten older, I've realized that I can't fix anyone. People have to fix themselves. You can offer advice, offer support, but you can't carry the weight of someone else's emotional baggage. The emotional energy that comes with some people is just too much. It's constant complaining, constant drama, constant neediness, and frankly, it wears you down over time. I've had my share of these types of relationships, the kind where you're always there for someone, but when the tables are turned, they're nowhere to be found. The kind where it feels like you're always the one giving, always the one making the effort, but you're never truly appreciated. So I've learned to distance myself from these relationships. If someone is always bringing negativity into my life, I step away. I protect my emotional space. It's not that I don't care. It's not that I'm cold or uncaring. It's just that I've learned that I have to preserve my emotional energy for the things and people that really matter. I've realized that it's okay to say no to someone who constantly drains you. It's okay to set boundaries. And here's the thing, self-care isn't selfish. In fact, it's necessary. If you're constantly surrounded by people who are emotionally draining, it becomes harder to find joy in your own life. You become weighed down by their problems, and before you know it, their stress becomes your stress, and their unhappiness becomes yours. That's not healthy for anyone. Now I've learned to say, you know what? I can't handle this right now, and I don't feel guilty about it anymore. There's something incredibly freeing about recognizing when a relationship isn't healthy and having the strength to walk away. In the end, we all have a limited amount of emotional energy. We need to protect it. We need to spend it on people who give back, on relationships that nurture us, and on ourselves. And if someone is constantly taking and never giving, it's time to let them go. Reason 3. The older I get, the less tolerant I am of fake people. As we age, we tend to lose patience with a lot of things. We start to get more selective about where we invest our time and energy, and that includes the people we choose to be around. One of the things I've noticed as I've gotten older is that I just can't tolerate fake people anymore. When you're young, you're more forgiving of pretense. You might overlook superficiality or insincerity because you think it's just a phase or that everyone's just trying to fit in. You might tolerate it because you want to be liked or accepted. But as you grow older, you start to see things more clearly. You understand that genuine connections are rare, and when you find them, you have to protect them. So any relationship that feels forced, shallow, or full of pretense, I've learned to avoid. Fake people often put on a mask to hide their true selves, whether it's pretending to be someone they're not, acting interested when they're not, or trying to manipulate a situation for their benefit. You see it all the time. People who pretend to be your friend when all they're really doing is keeping tabs on your life, your successes, and your failures, just so they can use it against you later. People who smile in your face, but behind your back, they're gossiping about you or talking down about your achievements. At this stage of my life, I've realized how draining it is to be around people who aren't authentic. And honestly, I just don't have the energy to deal with it anymore. I've reached a point where I simply don't tolerate disingenuous behavior. It's emotionally exhausting to constantly try to navigate relationships where people aren't being real with you. Whether it's because they have hidden agendas, are constantly trying to impress others, or simply lack integrity, I don't need that negativity in my life. And let's be honest, it's a waste of time. When you're young, you may tolerate fake people because you feel like you need them for social status, networking, or just to have people around. But at 70, I've learned that I'm much better off in solitude than surrounded by people who are only pretending to be friends. I've learned that real connections are built on trust, honesty, and mutual respect, not on shallow appearances or empty gestures. There's a certain freedom in letting go of people who aren't real. The more I've distanced myself from fake people, the more I've opened up space for genuine, meaningful relationships that don't require pretending or playing games. I'd rather have a handful of true friends than a crowd of people who only show up when it suits them. And the best part? I don't feel lonely. Loneliness doesn't come from being alone. It comes from being surrounded by people who don't really care about you. I've learned to value authenticity, even if it means spending more time by myself. It's amazing how much lighter life feels when you stop pretending and stop letting others pretend with you. Reason 4, drama is not worth my time anymore. When I was younger, I was more willing to get caught up in drama. Let's face it, life in your 20s, 30s, and even 40s can be filled with drama, whether it's family issues, workplace conflicts, or social disputes. You get involved in situations you feel obligated to fix, or sometimes you just find yourself in the middle of someone else's mess, trying to make sense of it all. It feels like you have no choice but to react, to get involved, or to somehow solve the problem. But as you age, you start to see the futility of it all. Drama is exhausting, and as you grow older, you realize it's just not worth it. Whether it's petty arguments, gossip, or people who always seem to be stirring the pot, I've learned that I don't need to be part of it. I simply don't have the energy to engage in drama anymore. And honestly, I don't have the patience for it either. I've realized that many of the issues people argue about, fight over, or get upset about are trivial in the grand scheme of life. Drama often comes from unresolved personal issues, insecurities, or the need to control situations that don't really need controlling. And over the years, I've learned that I don't have to carry the weight of other people's emotional baggage. At 70, I've built a life that's focused on peace, stability, and simplicity. I don't need to add unnecessary conflict to my day just because someone else wants to stir things up. Whether it's in family relationships, friendships, or even in the workplace, I've made a conscious decision to avoid drama. I no longer feel the need to insert myself into situations that are purely about people's egos or need for attention. And you know what? Life feels so much more peaceful when you step out of the drama cycle. I've come to appreciate calm, quiet moments. I treasure peaceful interactions with people who aren't trying to argue or make a point. I prefer spending my time in environments where things are simple and straightforward, rather than being constantly on edge, waiting for the next drama to unfold. It's funny, when you're younger, drama often feels like a sign of excitement or importance. But as you get older, you realize that true excitement comes from the things that bring you joy, not from the constant back and forth of conflict. Whether it's watching a beautiful sunset, spending time with people you love, or even enjoying a quiet cup of coffee in the morning, those are the things that truly make life rich, not the drama. So I've made the choice to avoid drama, and it's been one of the most liberating decisions I've ever made. I simply don't have the time for it. I don't need the stress, the chaos, or the emotional upheaval that comes with constant conflict. I choose peace, and I choose to surround myself with people who do too. Reason 5. I'm tired of pretending to be someone I'm not. As we get older, we stop caring about what others think of us. At least we should. The pressure to fit in, to meet societal expectations, or to mold ourselves into the version of what others think we should be is one of the greatest burdens of youth. When you're young, there's often this overwhelming desire to be liked, to be accepted, to be part of the group. So you might find yourself pretending to like things you don't, pretending to be interested in conversations that bore you, pretending to be someone you're not just to fit in. But here's the truth. As I've gotten older, I've stopped pretending, and it's been one of the most freeing choices I've ever made. I've realized that I don't owe anyone an explanation for who I am or what I enjoy. The older you get, the more you realize that life is short, and the energy spent trying to live up to other people's expectations is energy wasted. I don't need to put on a facade to make others feel comfortable or to gain their approval. If someone doesn't like the real me, that's their problem, not mine. In my younger years, I would have gone along with things just to avoid confrontation or because I didn't want to be seen as difficult or different. But at 70, I've reached a point where I simply don't care anymore. If I don't like something, I don't fake it. If I'm not interested in a certain conversation, I politely excuse myself. I no longer feel obligated to fit into someone else's mold, and I certainly don't waste time with people who want me to pretend to be something I'm not. This is especially true in social situations. I've gotten to a point where I no longer go to events or gatherings just to please others. If I don't want to go, I don't. If I'm not interested in small talk, I don't engage. And you know what? It feels incredible to be able to live authentically without the need to uphold an image of what others think you should be. The freedom that comes with not pretending is invaluable. I can finally embrace who I am, what I love, and what I stand for. Whether it's my values, my interests, or even my quirks, I've learned to own them. And I've realized that the people who matter, the ones who truly love me for me, are the ones I want to spend time with. Pretending, faking, and pretending to like things just to fit in, that's a young person's game. At 70, I've earned the right to be unapologetically myself, and I intend to keep living that way. Reason 6, I've realized that not all friendships are worth keeping. One of the hardest lessons I've had to learn over the years is that not all friendships are worth keeping. When you're younger, you might believe that the more friends you have, the better your life is. You might collect friends like trophies, thinking that a full calendar of social engagements equals happiness. You might even hold on to friendships that have run their course, simply because you don't want to feel alone or because you've invested so much time in them. But here's the truth I've discovered as I've gotten older. Friendship should be about quality, not quantity. As we age, we realize that not every friendship serves us in a positive way. In fact, some friendships can become toxic. People change over time. People grow apart. And that's okay. What's not okay is holding on to relationships that no longer bring you joy, support, or understanding. I've had to let go of friends who no longer shared my values or interests, friends who were always negative, or friends who only reached out when they needed something. And that's been one of the most empowering things I've ever done. You see, when you're younger, you think you have to hold on to every relationship. You feel like it's your duty to keep every friendship alive, even if it's draining you. But as you get older, you realize that it's okay to outgrow people, and it's okay to walk away from friendships that aren't fulfilling anymore. Some friendships are based on shared history or mutual convenience, but when you're no longer growing together, they can become stale, shallow, or even a source of stress. I've learned that it's okay to say goodbye to people who no longer add value to your life. Whether it's because they're constantly bringing negativity, engaging in unhealthy behaviors, or simply drifting apart, it's better to let go than to hold on out of guilt or habit. At 70, I've learned that genuine friendships require mutual respect, understanding, and effort. And when I think about the friendships I cherish the most, they're the ones where there's a deep emotional connection, where both people are invested in the relationship. They're the friendships that bring out the best in me, where I feel supported, valued, and appreciated, not the ones that feel like an obligation or a drain on my energy. And here's the thing, letting go of friendships that no longer serve you isn't about being callous or cruel. It's about creating space for the people who truly care about you, who lift you up, and who add something positive to your life. It's about surrounding yourself with people who genuinely value you and whose company makes you feel good, not drained. In the end, quality friendships make all the difference. So if a relationship isn't working for you anymore, it's okay to step back. You don't need to keep every friendship alive. Choose the ones that bring light into your life and let go of the rest. Reason 7, I'm no longer interested in chasing approval. When we're younger, we spend so much time chasing after approval, whether it's from our parents, friends, colleagues, or society at large. We measure our success and worth by how others see us. We change our behavior, dress a certain way, speak in a particular tone, or pursue goals that aren't truly ours, all in the name of gaining validation from the outside world. The truth is, we often feel incomplete unless we know we're being recognized or appreciated by others. But as I've gotten older, I've stopped chasing approval. And let me tell you, it's one of the most liberating feelings you'll ever experience. At 70, I've learned that I am enough, just as I am. I don't need anyone's approval to live my life on my terms. I don't need to meet the expectations that others have set for me, nor do I need to mold myself to fit some ideal that society has created. There's a sense of quiet power that comes with letting go of the need to please others. Once you stop seeking approval, you free yourself to be your most authentic self without apology. For so much of my earlier life, I lived in pursuit of external validation. I worked hard to meet the standards of others, whether it was in my career, relationships, or personal life. I wanted to be successful, admired, and accepted. And while some of that might have driven me to achieve great things, it also caused a lot of stress, anxiety, and self-doubt. I was always looking outside myself for confirmation that I was doing the right thing, that I was worthy, and that I was on the right path. But now, I realize how exhausting that can be. Living for the approval of others is like constantly running in circles, never really getting anywhere. It's like trying to fill a bottomless pit. You can never quite get enough. No matter how many accolades, achievements, or compliments you receive, it's never truly fulfilling because you're relying on someone else to define your value. And here's the most beautiful part. When you stop seeking approval, you give yourself permission to live for you. The freedom that comes with that is priceless. I've finally accepted that I don't need anyone's permission to live the way I want to live. I don't need to justify my choices or explain my actions to anyone. I can follow my passions, pursue what makes me happy, and spend my time with people who respect me for who I am, not for who I pretend to be. There's a peace that comes from realizing that I don't have to meet anyone's expectations anymore. I'm no longer concerned with what others think of my choices or lifestyle. And that's a gift I've given myself in my later years, the permission to be unapologetically me. Reason 8. I've learned that happiness doesn't come from more stuff. When I was younger, I thought that happiness came from acquiring things. New cars, bigger houses, the latest gadgets, designer clothes, you name it. We live in a world that tells us to keep striving, keep accumulating, and to always want more. There's this pervasive belief that if we just have the right things, we'll be happy, successful, and complete. But now at 70, I've come to realize something profound. Happiness doesn't come from more stuff. In fact, in many ways, stuff can weigh you down. I used to chase after material things, thinking that each new purchase would bring me closer to happiness. And there were moments of joy, of course. Unboxing a new item, enjoying a shiny new car, or decorating my home with the latest trends. But those moments were fleeting. The happiness that comes from material possessions is temporary. It fades just as quickly as the excitement of getting something new. Before long, you find yourself back in that cycle of wanting more, always seeking the next thing to fill the void. As I've gotten older, I've learned that true happiness is found in simplicity, in experiences, in relationships, in moments of peace. I no longer feel the need to accumulate things just for the sake of having them. I've realized that the more stuff you have, the more time and energy you spend maintaining it, whether it's cleaning, organizing, or worrying about it. Stuff can take up emotional space too, adding stress and clutter to your life. Instead, I find joy in the little things, moments of quiet reflection, spending time with loved ones, taking long walks in nature, or just sitting with a good book. I've learned that less is more. The less I focus on acquiring material possessions, the more I can focus on what truly brings me joy. The more space I clear in my life, both physically and mentally, the more room there is for what really matters. The people I love, the experiences I cherish, and the inner peace I've worked hard to cultivate. It's not that I don't appreciate the value of good things. I do. But I've learned to stop equating things with happiness. Happiness comes from living authentically, from meaningful relationships, from taking the time to appreciate what's truly important. And I can tell you from experience, it's a lot easier to find happiness when you're not constantly weighed down by the need for more. Reason 9. I've realized the value of my own time and energy. As we age, we become more mindful of how we spend our time and energy. At 70, I've learned one of the most valuable lessons of my life. Time and energy are finite resources, and I can't afford to waste them on people or activities that don't add value to my life. When you're younger, it's easy to get caught up in the idea that you have all the time in the world. You might spend hours on the phone with people who drain you, attend events that you don't really care about, or get involved in situations that aren't worth your attention. You might waste your energy on things that don't matter, simply because you haven't yet realized how precious time is. But now I've come to realize that I can't get my time back, and neither can anyone else. Every moment I spend with someone, every hour I give to something, every bit of energy I invest is a decision I'm making. So I've gotten very intentional about how I spend my time and who I spend it with. I no longer want to waste my time on superficial conversations or meaningless interactions. I choose to spend my time with people who uplift me, who challenge me to grow, who make me laugh, and who are genuinely present in my life. And I've learned that it's okay to say no to things that don't align with my values or priorities. The older we get, the more we recognize that time is the one thing you can never get back. It's a commodity that can't be replenished. I've made peace with the fact that I don't have the energy to invest in everything, and I don't feel the need to be everywhere or do everything anymore. Instead, I focus on what matters most, on what enriches my life, nourishes my soul, and brings me the kind of fulfillment that no amount of money or success can provide. In the end, I'm incredibly protective of my time now. I guard it like a precious resource. And I've realized that spending time with people who respect and appreciate my energy, as well as investing in activities that bring me joy, peace, and growth, is the most valuable way to live in my later years. Conclusion: embracing the freedom of saying no. So here I am at 70, no longer bothered by the need to please others, to chase after approval, or to surround myself with people who don't bring value to my life. I've learned to say no, and more importantly, I've learned to say yes to myself. Saying no to the things, people, and situations that no longer serve me has opened up space for the things that truly matter. The beauty of aging is that we come to understand our own worth. We learn that the time, energy, and love we give are precious, and we should invest them wisely. The relationships that bring us joy, the experiences that nourish our spirit, and the activities that allow us to live authentically, those are the things that matter most. As I look back on my life, I feel a sense of peace that I didn't fully appreciate when I was younger. I've come to realize that it's not about how many people you know, how much you've accomplished, or how much stuff you've accumulated. It's about the quality of the relationships you nurture, the moments of peace you cultivate, and the freedom you find in being unapologetically yourself. At 70, I don't feel old. In many ways, I feel freer than I ever have. I've let go of the things that weighed me down. The fake people, the drama, the need for approval, the chase for more stuff, the toxic friendships, the endless busyness. I've chosen to live a life that is simpler, more focused, and more aligned with my true self. So, to anyone who is listening, if you're younger than me, take it from someone who's been around the block. You don't have to wait until you're 70 to start living authentically. Start now. Learn to say no to things and people that drain you, and say yes to the things that bring you joy and fulfillment. Learn to value your time and energy. Surround yourself with people who uplift you. And most importantly, never ever apologize for being who you truly are. In the end, life is about living with intention. As we get older, we realize that we can choose the life we want to lead, free from the expectations of others. It's not always easy, but it's incredibly rewarding. So here's to living authentically, embracing the freedom of saying no, and cherishing the moments that matter.